Survivors of Typhoon Haiyan say they want to be heard. Here, farmers are upset about just how long the recovery in their towns is taking. They accuse the local government of being too slow. They say they still need emergency assistance.
I think we are gaining grounds. Everybody's quite recovered. The schools are opening. The civic centers or the municipal structures are being slowly put back.
But people like Gilbert Nikad are still hoping for some government help. He still hasn't recovered from what he lost when his coconut farm was destroyed. And pests like these are now finishing whatever's left of it.
Farmers are going hungry. We need food, shelter. We need to be given capital to clean our farms, gasoline, seedlings. This is like the second Haiyan for us. We are unable to do anything at all.
His sentiments are repeated 100 times over. Across the island of Leyte, most fishermen have repaired their boats and gone back to sea. But they're catching far fewer fish than they used to. Around 14 million people were affected when the strongest typhoon to ever make landfall struck central Philippines last November. Over 6,300 people were killed, and over 1,000 are still missing. For many of the survivors, finding decent housing remains a pressing concern. More than 2 million people are still living without adequate shelter. Most of them are living in tents, still hoping for help with rebuilding their homes. Access to basic services like water and sanitation is also a problem. Schools have reopened, but around 1.7 million children remain displaced, living in disaster zones where they are vulnerable to exploitation.
What do we have 6 months later? We have a population who wants to take their destinies in their hands, who are very proud to conserve whatever is left of their dignity after being so much beaten up by this typhoon on the 8th of November 6 months ago.
International aid organizations say there are signs of improvement. It's no longer an emergency, but a recovery. But for many survivors of Typhoon Haiyan, that isn't good enough.
And Jamela joins us live now from the Alindogan area in the city of Tacloban. Jamela, how has the recovery effort been going 6 months after the storm?
Well, you see some physical changes, particularly in Tacloban City and nearby villages around it. You see debris have been cleared now, schools have reopened, but there are still many issues here facing in terms of specifically in long-term recovery. And now to discuss just that, I am with Mr. Jonathan Price. He is from the International Labour Organization. Jonathan, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera. It seems to be that job, livelihood, that is still a major concern here, particularly for farmers who are saying that what they need right now is to be given the capacity to rebuild again. How difficult is it to do just that?
It's very difficult because the scale of the problem is enormous. More than 6 million workers were affected by the typhoon, and 2.6 million of those were living at the poverty line when the typhoon hit. So, and for the coconut farmers, it takes 6 to 8 years for coconuts to regrow. So the humanitarian community is looking at providing alternative livelihood for them in that interim period. In particular, we are looking at contour farming and intercropping as a livelihood for that period while they're waiting.
The United Nations yesterday at the press briefing said that efforts have now moved from emergency to recovery. We've been here over the last few days. But we get a sense from the survivors who seem to feel that things are not moving fast enough for them. The millions of people are still living without decent shelter. Roads are being repaired, bridges are being repaired. But there is still that invisible mark of that trauma, which seems to be a lot more difficult to fix. Now, what they say is what they want to have a sense of future, that jobs be given to them right away, that they know exactly where they can rebuild permanent homes again. How difficult is it also to do just that? What do you think when they say that things are not moving fast enough?
Well, I think everybody would agree that things have to move very quickly. I mean, that livelihoods is a crucial issue for people, and people need to have a sense that they can move out of poverty, that they can have something more sustainable. It's very important for the humanitarian community to move faster, and that's why it's at the forefront of operations now.
Thank you, Jonathan. So That was Jonathan Price of the International Labour Organization. Things have been moving here at this time, but a lot of survivors say what they want really is a clear sense of the future. Jobs, livelihood, decent shelter, particularly in the agricultural center. On the ground here in Tacloban City, about 15% of businesses have just reopened since last year. So that really is a major concern. A clear sense of direction for the millions of survivors of Typhoon Haiyan. Back to you.
Jamela, thank you.